أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفضل الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to Inner Dimensions of Fasting. This is part 7 or episode 7, and we continue, inshallah, with our series. And subhanallah, today today's day 22 of our fast. Night 23 is tonight. It is possible for tonight to be Laylatul Qadr. And before I continue, let me just remember to recite the dua that we have been used to reciting. Allahumma alimna bima yanfa'na wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilma. Allahumma alimna bima yanfa'na wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilma. Allahumma alimna bima yanfa'na wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilma. Allahumma ameen. So today is, as I was saying, day 22 and night 23. So if you're like me, these 3 weeks have gone by like a snap. I can't believe we're at the end. We're entering essentially the last week in very, very short order. SubhanAllah. So it's incumbent upon us to make the most of these remaining days, because Allahu Alam, if we reach next Ramadan, right? So we have to make the most of these days, we have to make the most of these nights, and we have to tighten our belts, so to speak, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, you may have been doing Qiyam al-Layl, and your sleep is not what you're not totally enjoying your sleep in terms of now their sleep is interrupted. You're doing suhoor, you're doing tahajjud prayers, and you're waking up in the middle of the night, right? Well, tighten up, because these days are very special and very sacred, and it shouldn't trouble you to shorten your sleep for a small window of time, because you're trying to get the most barakah out of these remaining days and nights. You're trying to get the most blessings out of these last remaining days and nights. So to struggle for a little bit in terms of sleep, or in terms of food, or in terms of energy, or thirst, or whatever the case may be, that's fine. It's all for a small window of time, whether for the month of Ramadan, or for the life of this world. It's all days. It's a matter of days before it passes. So the idea is to make the most of these special sacred days. So in light of that, what I wanted to do is actually, before we get into the book, book from Imam Ghazali, I wanted to go over some tips regarding dua that we should be focusing in on in these last remaining days. So one of the keys to your dua would be making a dua list. So your dua list ideally should be a limited number. I would say, commit to memory a good 5 to 10 special ad'iyah or special dua that will bring out an emotion out of you, right? You don't want to have your dua to be a routine where you're just reading it and there's no emotion, there's no conviction behind it, and you're just reading it as if it's a routine. No, you want to have a dua list, 5 to 10 dua that 5, 7, 9, 10 dua that are special to you, that are really meaningful to you, and commit them to memory, so that when you do beseech upon your Lord this evening and any of the remaining nights of the special month, they should be coming from your heart, and really there's an air of sincerity behind it, right? So again, remember these adaya. I'm going to go over some of them right now as suggestions to be included upon your dua list. So hopefully these are helpful. But the famous hadith on the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, uh, where he was discussing with Sayyidah Aisha regarding what dua should I recite upon entering Laylatul Qadr, and he mentioned Allahumma innaka afuwan kareem tuhibbul afaf wa'fu anni, or in this case on the screen, Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afaf fa'fu anni. Right? This is a big. This is a most popular dua on this night. The adaya again, Allahumma inta اللهم اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Again, give me the best of this world, the best of the hereafter, and protection from the fire. Some other dua pointers that I wanted to bring out. Number one would be call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using his most beautiful names, Isma Allah al-Husna, right? Al-Wali, Al-Wakil, Al-Qarib, Al-Rahman, Al-Rahim, Al-Qadir, all these things evoking the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the and the strength and the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are all beautiful names, beautiful qualities that we need to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the other recommendations I would make, number one, you should really call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in certain times that have been mentioned to be especially noteworthy. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, after Salat al-Fajr, in your sujood, this is a special time, right? And the later third of the night, and actually the closer you get to Salat al-Fajr, the more special that time becomes, right? So during your tahajjud prayer, maybe before around 3:30, getting to getting to that special time, start reciting your dua and maybe doing Salat al-Hajj, right? So that's a special time. Salat al-Fajr, right? In the Quran, al-Fajr kana mashhuda, right? And during Salat al-Fajr, if you were to pray your Salat al-Fajr, and then right after recite your Quran, that's a special time to be reciting dua. So again, these are all suggestions, these are all ideas that I'd recommend, and it's recommended for you to engage in dua, inshallah. So again, I have here a list of suggestions, and what I'll do is I'll share this with the Facebook group so that everybody can examine and then make their own dua list, right? Not everybody's going to have the same dua. Again, some of these are suggestions, and I would just add to the dua that we've already mentioned, some of the askar of whether it's sabah or masa. Give me the light of the day, right? Give me the best of this day. اجعلني خير هذا اليوم فتحه نصره نوره بركاته وهداه, right? اللهم أعطيني العفو والعافية في الدنيا وفي الآخرة. اللهم أعطيني دوام العافية ودوام العافية في الدنيا وفي الآخرة. These are all special dua. So if you know the Askar al-Sabah and you know Askar al-Masa, then you're already on good footing to succeed, inshallah, in your dua this evening and in the following nights, inshallah. This is another resource that I have that I'll share. Again, make a dua list about seven. I would say again 5 to 10 du'as long that could help you with your sincerity as you call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is yet a third resource, and again, I'll try to share this with the group, inshallah. But definitely remember to stand up in the special times, sujood, the Salat al-Fajr, or just before Fajr, inshallah, around suhoor time. These are the best times to go into these ad'iyah, inshallah. So this is dua in Arabic, and you also have a translation in English up above. So I will be sharing these resources, and hopefully these are helpful, inshallah. Inshallah. So with that, I wanted to go into these are the ad'iyah that I've been mentioning. So these are the ones that I will be sharing on our Facebook page, inshallah. Inshallah. Okay. So where we last left off, we mentioned the hadith of the Prophet where he basically was telling somebody who had a little bit of a belly, and the Prophet ﷺ pointed to his belly and said, if that were elsewhere, it would be better for you. So meaning if you had considered somebody else and sacrificed that additional food to somebody else, it would have that sacrifice would have been better for your akhirah, right? So that was in line with the theme that we had the other night regarding Malik ibn Dinar. So Malik ibn Dinar, the story and the theme around that was deprivation, right? So it would have been better for this man to have deprived himself of this food and had sacrificed it for somebody else to partake in that food. So deprivation, and we concluded with the idea that in deprivation, there may be actually many benefits. So while he may be, it may appear that he's depriving you, he's actually giving you, right? And then there are other instances where he's giving you, but he's actually depriving you, right? So there's, there was that story of Malik ibn Dinar, how he turned from a drunk and raised his maqam through that dream and through the loss of his daughter, right, to become the one of the greatest scholars of Islamic history. So deprivation is not only a loss; it's not just a loss, and may not be as it initially appears. So in the workshop regarding Imam Ghazali's book, The Breaking of the Two Desires, the main benefit out of fasting is to break your attachment, to this world, the breaking of your desires, right? And to put your akhirah before your dunya, right? So the scholar that was leading this workshop essentially reviews our biggest attachment to this world are what? I'm gonna just pause here for a second, and I want those that are watching to list out some of the attachments that we will have to this world. because we're actually going to go over what is the biggest attachment. So I want to have you consider what are attachments that we have, whether it's in yourself or whether you see it in others. So there's definitely the attachment of money. MashaAllah, Tasneem. Yes. Um, but the scholar here actually mentioned the biggest attachment being our very own children, right? So our children are our biggest attachments, and the examples that is used in the Quran for this sake is the example of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to sacrifice his son, and what happened was that he was willing to do that, and not only was he willing to do it, but his son was willing to sacrifice himself because it was seen as the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it was really a test for the both of them, and of course both passed that test because they were detached from this world. They had nothing. They had no attachment to this world. All they wanted was to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other example, and by the way, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, sometimes there's debate among the Muslims and the Jews regarding who, if it was Ismail or Ishaq. And the point of the matter is, it doesn't actually matter who it was. It's probably Ismail, as far as we can tell, and as what most scholars have determined. But it could be Ishaq. But again, it's really a moot point because it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that there was a sacrifice that each were willing to make to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were not shown as being attached to this world. The other example was Sayyidina Yusuf's father, alayhi salam, right? How he lost his son for years upon years upon years, and he was a young boy when he was taken away from him, and he became a young man before he was actually returned to him, right? So their attachments, they were able to show that they were not attached to this world. So the idea here is, again, the idea behind fasting is to not be attached to anything in this world beyond beyond a certain standard. So you should have a relationship of indifference with anything in this world. Our sons, our money, the money, as Tasneem mentioned, anything should be at a distance from your heart. It should not enter your heart. So if you remember in our first session together, we said that it's almost like if being in a boat in the water and not being overcome, that boat not being overcome by that body of water, right? So once that boat becomes overwhelmed with the water, it starts to sink, right? So it's just being in this world as if you're on top of that boat, and you're in this world, and the matters of this world have not entered your heart. Okay, so we went into next, or the area that we'll go into next is actually the secrets of fasting. And they're saying here that the fast or fasting is seen as 1/4 of your faith. Why? Because fasting, there's two hadith that are mentioned here. One where the Prophet says that fasting, alayhi salatu wasalam, is 1/2 of faith, and the other, so fasting is 1/2 of faith. The second hadith, patience is 1/2 of fasting. So the scholars have ascertained from that fasting is 1/4 of our faith. So the other point regarding fasting is that depending upon your impact and your intention and all these other factors, the reward for it is unlimited. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's infinite. Whereas the reward for other things, right, has a limit, because it's usually between 10 times to 700 times the level of the action. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is your fast is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He rewards as He sees fit. This is completely up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He could reward you beyond that limit of 700 times the reward. So what they say here is that the reward is beyond space and time. Now, when you fast, you may realize that you may have a bad odor from your fast, but this odor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seen as it's more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than even musk. So to you it may be it may not be pleasurable, but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it's actually seen as better and more beloved than musk. So we go on then to essentially review some more benefits regarding fasting, or some more aspects related to fasting. So Al-Jannah has eight doors, or 8 gates, and one of the gates is Bab al-Rayyan. Now, those who enter through Bab al-Rayyan are only those who have excelled at fasting, right? So this is one of the 8 gates. So this is one avenue for us to enter into Jannah, inshallah. So he also mentioned here that there is 8 gates, as we mentioned, in Jannah, and Abu Bakr Siddiq could enter from any one of these 8 gates, subhanallah. So it's mentioned here that different people have different gates that they'll enter. So while somebody watching here may enter through Bab al-Rayyan, another one may enter maybe they have a stronger, a different strength, right? And they enter for the prayers, or other, maybe because of charity, etc. But this Bab al-Rayyan is specifically mentioned only for those who have fasted. We go into now some of the secrets of fasting. So ultimately, only you know about your fast. So only you truly know if you're fasting or not, right? Whereas the other arkan al-Islam, the Hajj, there are always public aspects to these other pillars of faith. I'm sorry, pillars of Islam. So the Hajj, this has to be a public act, right? Your shahadatain has to be a public act. You have to publicly declare that you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the one and only Lord, and you have to believe that you have to also testify that Muhammad alayhi salam is his messenger, right? So these are all public acts. Your salah, right? The salat al-Jum'ah, for example, right? These are all public acts. Your zakah is a public act. But your fasting, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly know if you're fasting or not. So what we mentioned next basically is that the stomach, according to Imam Ghazali, the stomach is the root of all evil. So a lot of people, so a lot of people will think that money is the root of all evil, and that if you trace back all the evil acts that arise in this world, if you trace it back to its origin, it all comes from the root of desires or the pursuit of money. And Imam Ghazali has a different take. He said, no, the root of all evil is actually the stomach. And Bani Adam, or the children of Adam, Shaitan wants to fill your stomach, because once your stomach is full, then all other evil acts are possible. So it all starts with the desire of the stomach. Once Shaitan lures you to filling those desires and filling your stomach, then there's hope for you to go down onto other base desires, right? So and it's actually listed in our workshop to go from the desires of the stomach, the desires, then it would proceed or get worse to go onto the level of the evil from, or the desires from the desires of the private parts, then the desire of wealth, that's another level, and then the desire for power. So each one of these all are, 1 degree worse than the other, but it all becomes possible because on that ground floor is the desire for the stomach. So it becomes important that we control our desires for the stomach. Then these other possibilities or other desires for evil, they become broken as well, right? So it's like a foundation of a house. You can't build a house without a foundation, right? So the foundation of these evil desires is built upon the desires of the stomach. So I'm gonna stop here for now, and we're gonna go into some other secrets of fasting in our next session on Sunday, inshallah. But I again want to share with you the dua list because uh, I think some of you may not have seen that when I first started because I didn't share my screen, so I apologize about that. But if I share my screen now, okay. So this is a website that like I said, I'll be mentioning this in the Facebook group. These are ad'iyah that you could use tonight. Tonight, it's very possible to be Laylatul Qadr. So I would use these ad'iyah every night, inshallah, for the rest of Ramadan. But specifically on the odd nights, like tonight. Tonight will be night 23. Sunday night, when we next resume our class, that will also be the 25th night. That will also be a possible Laylatul Qadr, and also Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday being the expected last day of fasting. So again, the famous hadith of the Prophet, which listed the dua after a discussion with Sayyidah Aisha, Allahumma afuwan, Allahumma innaka afuwan, tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. Right? That should be one of those 5 to 10 dua that you concentrate on for this special night. اللهم ائتني في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Right? Calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in with his most blessed names, Asma al-Husna. Calling upon him in the middle of the night, in the deepest parts of the night. This is again recommended action. In your sujood, as you're praying your taraweeh or praying your tahajjud prayers, do this in your sujood. And really commit to memory as much as you can a small amount of dua that are especially important to you. So these are my recommendations. I hope these are useful and beneficial to you. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just wait for any questions if you do have any questions. And so I'll wait 30 seconds to a minute or so, and I look forward to your questions or iftar coming up in a little bit over an hour, inshallah. Okay. So at this point, I will see you on Sunday, inshallah. We may, I'm probably going to be extending it to about an hour on Sunday, just again, to make the most out of these remaining last 9 days. Subhanallah. سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم